Now let's get into the drug use, the drug abuse, and the drug addiction, which this episode part two is focusing on and around. First, everyone and anyone can be addicted to something psychologically and behaviorally. We don't want it to be something that is subtracting beneficial things from our lives because of the negative impact it has on the outcome in the long run. First, I'm going to talk to you about drug use. I don't like lay the foundation in the phases though. Drug use is the use of a chemical substance, mostly identified with things like recreational use and or experimental use, or like I mentioned in phase one of the phases of addiction being the relief phase. Things I mentioned in that phase also applies to just using drugs. And I use that term loosely, just using drugs, because no one should be just using drugs unless they're prescribed by a doctor. With most drugs, say the user is at risk of moving from occasional use to regular use or from moderate to heavy use, and then to chronic use or persistent use. Next is drug abuse. Drug abuse is the willful misuse of either illicit or licit drugs for perceived necessity, for recreation, or convenience. This is perceived. This is in your mind. You're abusing the drug, but this is how you look at it. These are necessities. This is recreation. This is fun. But you're using more of the drugs. You're abusing the drugs. You're misusing the drugs. Now, licit drugs, as I mentioned before, licit drugs are legal drugs. That's just a technical term for it, medical term, whatever you want to call it, counselor's term, treatment term, psychological term, whatever. And illicit drugs are basically just illegal drugs. It's illicit, licit. Illegal, legal. That's all. That's all. Those are just big words for layman's terms that we call legal and illegal. Now, drug abuse differs from drug use in that drug use is taking or using drugs, that's the use, whereas drug abuse is more intense and often misuse of drugs, often to the point of addiction. To the point of addiction.